Hello, everyone, and welcome to this part 4 of our masterclass series of the Event Builder. I'm your host, Steve McGillivray. I work in the Office of University Events and Protocol here at ASU. And the masterclass series is a series of classes where we are going deeply into the registration module of Stova. This gives us time to really show you all the features and all the options available to us using this event management system. So this is part 4. This is the 4th day in a row. Last 3 Thursdays, we've been building out a registration site for an event. We're going to pick up where we left off. This is the event we're building out, a multi-day conference or multi-session conference. And while we have spent the last 3 sessions building the registration site, some of these decisions we made creating that site will be affected by what we are talking about today. And today we're going to focus on sort of the last part of the setup for an event registration site, the emails that are going to be received by the people who have signed up for the event. There are these things called system emails, which are triggered by actions your registrants take in the registration process. There are scheduled emails, so you can send blasts or individual custom emails to your attendees. And there are these things called emails to administrators, a handy, though often overlooked features for just communicating with other members of your team. After we go through that, we're going to talk about final preparations, what you should be doing before you go live with your registration site, and then showing you how to go live. But before we get in, the usual housekeeping begins this part of the session or webinar. So a reminder that this is being recorded and will be shared with everyone who signed up. You'll get an email tomorrow with a link to the video. As we go through our demonstration, you're going to see a couple of different company names. You could see Stova. You're going to may see Eventry. You may even see eTouches. They are all the same company. It's the same platform we've been using for 6 years. It's just gone through a number of name changes, and the most recent is Stova. So don't be alarmed if you run across that, either in different parts of the system, as we'll see today, or in the support docs that you may refer to if you've got questions. So before we dive into this demonstration, one thing I do want to chat about is that there is a difference between event emails and marketing emails. What we're going to talk about today are event emails. This is the way you communicate with people who have registered for your events. Okay? To send an invitation email to those people to get them to your registration site, that is a marketing email, and that would be done in the marketing module of Stova. So don't get the two confused. We do get questions from time to time. Here's my event registration. How do I send an invite from here to do this? It's like you don't do it there. Also, we do have a webinar just on the marketing module we're offering later this term, I believe in a couple of weeks. Feel free to sign up for that, and we'll show you all the ins and outs of the marketing module. So today, we're going to focus on event emails for our conference and expo. So let's get started. One other thing. So again, if you have questions, feel free to stop me, either unmute your microphone or post your question in the chat. But there also will be time at the very end of our webinar to take questions about everything we've covered today, everything we've covered in previous masterclasses, or just any open questions about Stova. Okay, so now let's dive in. As usual, I'm going to give a shameless self-promotion to our support site, where I'm going to log into my account using the Stova user account login button, entering my ASU Right ID. And now I'm in my site, and of course, I come in, I'm at the cloud level where I don't see any of my events. To see my events, I have to click on a folder, either this top level or click the plus sign to see any other folders in this folder. But I want to go to my Stova conference at this level. Again, a little pro tip I share is that if I click on this now, I'll go to the overview page. But if I right click on this, I'll be able to go to a contextual menu and pick something a little quicker to go to, and I want to go to registration settings section. So now I'm in my events back end. So previously on Masterclass, we have already built out this site. We are using a number of categories for everyone associated with this event: the attendees, exhibitors for the trade show, sponsors of the event, and staff. We've already got their registration questions set up. We have put our agenda for that multi-day, multi-session conference, and people can select which sessions they want. We've already got fees and payments set up and are ready to take their money. Okay, so now we're just going to focus on the event email section. That's under event info, event emails. The first session we'll talk about are system emails, also called triggered emails. In this section, these are emails that are triggered by something that your registrant does or does not do when they're on your registration site. So if they successfully submit a registration, they're going to get a confirmation email. Okay? If they are in the registration site but do not finish the registration within 30 minutes, they will be sent an incomplete registration email just to let them know that they didn't finish and give them a way to get back to the site to finish. So that's what all of these are triggers. You can see what the triggers are under email type. And again, I cloned my registration site from our ASU template, and we have some emails already programmed in there for you to use. You can see the triggers are, so I've got, again, I'll just go from the top. Waitlisted registration invite. So if you do use this waitlisting function up here, you need to have 2 emails to use that's automatic waitlisting function. This waitlisted registration invite is one to invite people who are on the waitlist to sign up. The other is the waitlist confirmation to tell people when they actually have registered for the waitlist. Registration cancellation is there if you allow your attendees to cancel their registrations, and that's again done under event info, registrant rules, that permissions is there. Then they get a notification that yes, indeed, they did cancel their registration. Talked about initial confirmation, talked about incomplete, registration updated. So again, under modification permissions, you can allow attendees to modify their original registrations. And this is just an email to let them know you did it. Okay? So one of the first things you want to do when you create a new event is update some information, and I suggest in all of these emails, but especially the ones you know you're going to use. Now, if you have turned off some features, you're not going to use waitlisting, you're not going to use modification permissions or canceling permissions, it's all right to leave those emails there. They will not be triggered if they're not turned on, but they're there if you need it. Good to leave them there because you may clone this site for another event where you do need them, okay? So to edit an email, go into the edit feature. I'm going to edit the confirmation email. And currently at the top, so here, email type, this is the list of triggers. I'm not going to change it for that confirmation email, but I just want to click on here and show you all the other things that you could use for a trigger. Okay, like I said, we're using the incomplete registration, initial registration update, registration cancellations, but there's some other things in the system that if you enable the feature, you can create a triggered email for that purpose. Okay, I'm going to leave the subject line as it is. This is the line that will be in the subject line of the email received by the recipient. And you can see we're using a merge code. We're going to talk about merge codes when we talk about editing the content. So I'm going to leave that for now. But here are the things that you should update in all of your emails before you use them. The from email address, what name is connected to that email address, the reply to email address, and the reply name to that email address. So I happen to have a, yep, I'm not highlighting what I want. There we go. There's my quick little fillet. So this is my unit's email address. One note about the from email address, or also from the sender, sometimes called the sender field email address, is you'll see this little A dot that I have at the beginning of the domain. This is something you have to add to any email address you use in the from or sender field. The A dot is a security feature implemented by ET. I still feel funny saying that. For something called DMARC email verification. So you must enter the A dot before the domain. You don't have to request a special email address. It will work with any ASU domain name. Just add the A dot. If you don't, you will get a little nasty message from the system when you hit save. Okay, the email domain is not permitted. That's what that means. You're not using a DMARC compliant email address. So if you're using ASU email addresses, be sure you have the A dot. There are some other DMARC compliant email addresses. Thunderbird.asu.edu is one. And if you want to request one for yourself, you can. I'm going to point you back to our support site where we have information on how to request that and what are required to get your own DMARC compliant email address. But generally, you're going to use an email address to like a public folder or a Salesforce inbox so that your team can see it. Just add the a.asu.edu. This is where I wanted my name. Now in the reply to, you do not want the A dot, because that will actually interfere if people hit the reply button. It will come back to that person as bounced and they'll wonder what the heck is going on. So the DMARC compliant is only in the from or sender field, not in the reply to email address field. And once more, my name. Okay. Another note about the from email and the reply to email, they do not have to be the same email address. In fact, there's a good case to be made that sometimes it shouldn't be. So for example, if this was an email that you wanted to look like it's coming from the provost office, and you would put the provost email address and the provost's name here, lovely, but you do not want the provost to be receiving any reply to, or worse, reply alls to that. You would probably put that to the person or inbox that is reviewing emails for the provost office. So you can have two different email address. And yes, that's experience giving you that pro tip. Okay. Now you can use the BCC email as well. If you would like a copy every time someone registers, you could use this, but there is another feature called emails to event administrators that we'll be talking about in a little bit. The notes field is just for your own purposes. If you want to remind yourself why this email is designed for, or who it's designed to be sent to, you can do that for your team. And there can be a reason to have more than one confirmation email. I'll be talking about that possibility in a minute. So as the email addresses, again, I recommend that you update those for all emails of your new site. Next, let's talk about how to customize the content. Below the emails is the email content editor. And this should look a little familiar because it is the standard HTML content editor you see anytime you see a field with that little icon next to it. We provide you with an ASU branded template, standard ASU logo. This merge field is one coming from the overview page for ASU merge fields. We talked about that in part 1 of Event Builder. We show you that you can have a banner if you want to have an image, and what we recommend the size is for that banner, and then down here is the text. And here you're seeing a lot of merge fields combined with text, okay? So first off, let's show you how you can change logos. Here I have a unit logo I would like to use. When you're in the HTML content editor, I would click off to the side and I would just delete the logo that's there, and then go up to, in the toolbar, the image feature. Now click Browse Server, and that will take you into the image database. And if you have been taking some of our other webinars, you know that you do not ever want to upload an image or a document someplace other than inside your team folder. So be sure you're inside your team folder somewhere before you click Upload New Image. Let us use the sample folder as our example. And I'm going to hit Upload New Image. I get this window for browsing, and now I can find these things in my here we go. Now, I'm just going to upload all of my images at once, everything I'm going to be using from here out. So I'm going to get my unendorsed brand for College of Really Cool Ideas and some other graphics that I'm going to be using for other purposes. Okay. So I can select through files. I can select up to 20 at a time and hit Upload Image. Now I can, if I want to, I could edit some of these images for sizing. There's another place in the system where I can do that if this becomes an issue. We talked about that in the theme editor event builder section, which I believe was last week. But these are all fine. It's been uploaded. There's no close button, just the red button to close that. And now I'll find them over here. And I'm going to select that image. Good to add some alt text for the screen readers. If I want to change how it is lined up, I can. It's going to give me a size here, and I can resize here if I want to, although it's always better to have the graphic the size you want before you upload. And there's my image. Lovely. Okay, again, I don't need to change the merge code. That's already pre-programmed. To change if you do not want a banner, you can just highlight it and delete it, and you're done. Okay, if you do want to change it, you can just double click. That will again open up the image properties, and you can hit Browse Server to reopen the, do I have that here? Okay. Going kind of fast because I just did this once. So that's a little bigger than I want. If I have it oversized than what the email has been programmed for, it will push the email size. And you generally want an email to be about 600 pixels wide. And there we go. Okay. What else? So that's images. We also get requests on how do you share documents through emails, and I'll show you that now. There are two ways to do it, and our recommended way is to upload the document to a cloud service and then share a link where your recipients of the email can download the document. So in this example, you click in the email where you want the link to the document to go. You then go to the links feature, and then down here at the bottom, another Browse Server button, and that's going to take you into the Documents database. Just like images, you want to be inside your unit folder before you start uploading. The upload looks a little different, and you are going to get this warning about all documents on the Stova server can be seen by search bots and that kind of thing. So you don't want to upload anything that has personally identifiable information on it or anything that you're worried about security purposes for. For that, you could use a service like Dropbox or Google Drive and still use a shared link from one of those services in your email. Okay? It asks me what folder to store these in. This is all fine here. Going to the top level, I'm in my unit folder. Let's find those docs. Seem to have misplaced those. Let's go up a level. There we go. Double click. This one does have a save and exit button, so it's going to upload. There it's again confirmed the upload. And I can just close this window, and now I just select that form. Now, if I was to hit OK now, it would paste the URL for this document as the link, but that's not very attractive. I want to put something more descriptive of. If I put display text in this field, that will become the text of the link. So if I could spell. And there I've uploaded the document to the cloud, and I've found the URL for the download link, and I've put that download link in my email. Lovely. Okay. I said there were 2 ways to do this. Again, this is our recommended way. There is another way that we don't recommend, but I want to show you so that if you do it or you use it, that again, you use it the right way. Yes, there is an attachment features below the content section. Some people like attachments, but what I've heard is that attachments to emails can be triggered, can trigger spam filters to put it in the spam folder because they're worried about its security. But some people like to use the attachments to show that there are documents there. So to use this, yes, it says drag and drop, but if you remember my previous guidance, you should never drag and drop a folder someplace where you don't know where it's going to go. Okay? Always use a select file or select from database feature whenever you see that. So select the file, click the select files button. I'm back in my documents database. Okay, it shows me just a different view of that and gives me a tool tip. If I hold over, if I can't quite read that title, I can hold my mouse over it, select it, and now it's been attached. And if I need to remove this later, okay, I can hit that trash can. So if you drag and drop at this level, eventually that document will disappear. And unlike that happening to images, if you do that to images, that image will disappear and you'll see something on a site that shows you you have a bad placement of image. This you might not catch if it disappears. So again, this is why we recommend always uploading and sharing a link, because that will always work. But attaching, if you don't do the guidelines I just pointed out using select files, you could lose that doc. Okay? Okay, let's talk about merge codes. So our template comes with some, and these should make common sense. First name versus the event name. The event dates are coming from event info page. So to add merge fields, there are 2 ways to do it. Up here on the right is a button called Merge Fields that will open up a pop-up window where you can see everything that's available. Okay? Easiest way to search here is to just use the browser search feature. So perhaps I want to see something about sessions, or one of our most often requested merge fields is there a way to add an add to calendar link to my email? And yes, you can do that with a merge code. The merge codes you see here are turned on and off based on the features that you have enabled on your site. So if you have an event that has no agenda sessions programmed, you will probably not see the sessions merge codes because you don't need them. If you turn off, well, if you turn on the virtual feature, you will get some additional merge codes. Those are not showing up right now. So that's just the way Stova works. If you turn something on, you will start to see those features in other parts of the system. So I want to add our calendar. We're just going to highlight that code, copy it, go back to my form. Let's put it there. Okay, and I like it centered. Okay, so if you read the description, this will put a graphic on the email when it's sent, and it will have a calendar that people can use to click and add it to their calendar. Now, this is adding to their calendar for the entire event. Okay, so that event is the top level. This is for my event. It's the expo. Would give them all the dates and times of the entire event. Start date, start time, end date, end time. But these folks also made session selections, and I might want to give them what they selected for that. So let me add that merge code that will give them a list of everything they signed up for. And I'm going to come back to this one. As you see, I also have a way to get them add to calendar features just for the sessions they selected. That's not what I'm looking for right now. This is what I'm looking for, a table that will show them their selections. And I've got a couple different options, as you can see. For my purposes, I think I'll just do the basic one here. And let's in fact tell them and give them that table. All right. Now again, I did have a merge code for those adding to calendar of those sessions. So I'll show that link after they see the table. Okay, the last merge code that's often requested is for a paid event, you want to share the invoice or the receipt for the person, and you can do that again with a merge code. So the way it works in Stova, and we mentioned this last time, is that when they owe you money, it's called an invoice, and when they've paid, it's a receipt. It's the same invoice. But if I looked for receipt, I wouldn't see that. I wouldn't see that in the merge codes. Okay, so that's why I'm mentioning it to you. I'm looking for an invoice button. Just invoice would give me a link. I'm actually looking for something with a graphic on it, and that's the invoice button. Lovely. Okay. Now I'm going to hit save and stay before I go any further, just so I don't miss any of those changes. The other way of adding a merge code to your email is this feature up here in the toolbar called Merge Fields. Click on it after you've selected the position of your merge field in your email. Click on it, and then you have to remember which merge field type am I looking for? Am I looking something for the event details? Am I looking for something from the attendee details? And it gives you their description, and I have to say sometimes their description just doesn't match what I'm looking for, but it's here if you want to use it. I just find it easier to use that view field pop-up window is easier than using this, but I did want to show you again in a deep dive that you've got some options here. Okay. All right, that's merge fields. Let me just point out some other things already happening in our templates. The contact info merge field, that is the contact info field on event info basic details at the bottom of the page. Okay. In our templates, we are providing information to folks. Let's see, is this one of them? And this is using a merge field. If we should have, and this is, I believe, this one's also using a merge field. Yeah, for modifying registrations. I mentioned this on whatever day we talked about modification permissions. If you are allowing folks to modify their registrations, they have to go to a special URL. The modifications tab shows you what the exact absolute URL address is, but you don't need that. You can use this merge field here to have that functionality for you. If you use a merge field in a link button, notice that the protocol is to use other. Don't select HTTP or HTTPS, which is for normal web addresses. Use the other protocol for that. Otherwise, you're going to get HTTPS duplicated and it won't send people where you want them to go. Okay, so another handy feature that you can use a merge field for that function. And then we also provide the reference number, which every attendee gets their own unique reference number. Now, if you've turned off modification permissions, you want to come back in this email and probably delete this information so that nobody gets confused as to why you're giving it to them. And down here are the other ASU merge fields, again, which are available on the overview page. Update those fields, and these will be updated for every email. Okay. Again, I'm going to hit save and stay. You might have noticed this currently edited, and this is new in Stova, currently edited in English. So if you have enabled another language in your event, which you can do, we talked about that last time as well, you can have different versions of your email. I'm going to stick to English. I don't know Spanish, so I'm not going to attempt to translate that, but just be aware that you can provide that to folks. All right. Should mention, yes, there is a preview email button. I don't find that's particularly helpful to see. I don't think it's representative. What you really want to see is you want to get an email and see what it looks like. And to do that, you can use this feature over here, send a test email. Good idea to do that when you're just doing the design. I forget why that's my address, but that works for me. Test merge fields. So if you do not have any test registrations in the system, you will not see this field. And when you get the email, you're just going to see either blanks where the merge codes are or the merge codes themselves. I think it's blanks. But if you want to see the email with actual data in it, do a test registration. And then you're able to come in here, send a test email, and select the person on this list. I think it shows you the first 10 or so registrations in the system. So I provided a test registration already so I could show you. And now I can hit send a test, one email, test sent, wonderful. And I'll wait for the bing. And while I'm waiting for that, so that's how you send a test email. I'm going to hit save and stay while I'm waiting for that. And the next thing to talk about is that you can decide on who receives even triggered emails. The top, you default to the details and contents tab, but you can choose recipients as well. So a question you should ask yourself is, do you want all of your attendees to receive the same emails? In this case, the confirmation email. And perhaps you do, and you would customize the email for that. But there might be cases where you want to send different confirmation emails to different attendees based on their category, or based on their registration type, or based on the session selected. These are the options you can choose for creating these different emails to go to different recipients. Session selection is one. Options. So options, again, is the option merchandise section. We've got people who ordered t-shirts. We've got people who ordered guides, right? Do you need to send them an email to let them know that you got the order? You can also send an email based on the response to a question on the attendee info side. To add a question, click the Add a Question over here. And it has to be a question that has predetermined options that they selected. Okay, that's why you're seeing Dropbox here. That could be, but it could be radio buttons. It could be multi-selects. It could be anything with an options list that you program. And then you just say, click the question you want to use as the filter and which answers are going to get this particular email. Okay. Lovely. Now I heard the ping come in. Let's go back and take a look at that. It went to the other screen, so let me move it over for you. And let me also turn, I like it to use the dark. I like the dark side for my interface. So here is our test email. It filled this merge code, again, from the ASU merge fields, and filled these other fields from either the event site or from my registration. Okay, here's where I can download the release form. Here's where I can add it to my calendar. Here are the sessions I selected in this test registration. Now you notice there were some other merge codes as well for sessions. I'm not saying what the location is here. Again, I decide what I would like them to see. And then down here are the add all sessions to calendar. This will open up a web page. Well, in fact, I could show you. And again, it opens up on the wrong monitor. And this is how this works when you're asking people to, or people are asking for adding to calendar per session, right? You have to download individual, what are called ICS files that they can then drag and drop onto their calendars to add these dates and times of the session to their calendars. So event level calendar, you're just going to get one ICS file to add. Sessions, you'll get all of these, and you're required to download them and then add them manually. Okay, just like it says up there. So that's how that merge field works. Let's get back to our email. All right, moving right along. So when would I ever use this feature? Well, I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to change this initial confirmation. Let's just say this is good for all of my attendees. But some of my categories, some of my members are paying a fee. And while I did put the invoice button into the confirmation email, I've noticed that people forget that that button is there. So when I have a paid event, what I like to do is create a secondary confirmation that has just the receipt invoice button, and in the subject line, tell them, here is your receipt. Easier for them to find. So I can clone any triggered email to create a new triggered email by clicking the clone button. I've still got all of my email addresses and names programmed. Lovely. But I'm going to change this to a secondary confirmation. And whether it's initial or secondary, it really doesn't matter. It's still the same, a confirmation email triggered by a submission. But let's change this a bit. And I can get rid of, frankly, everything else. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to do this quick, so I'll just leave that there. Now I'll change the subject line . Oh, you just saw it. There we go. So that's the thing they'll see when they're scanning for emails, because we all scan apparently. If they're looking for that receipt, they will get it in the confirmation email, but also a separate email. So here is your link to the receipt. So I'm going to save this. And now I am going to pick recipients, and I'm going to base it on categories because not all of my categories needed a receipt. General admission is paying. This vendor is paying, and the sponsors are paying. But the exhibitor category I'm using for the exhibitor reps, the folks who represent these folks, so they don't need to see the receipt. And my staff aren't paying anything, so they will not need to see the receipt. Okay? So I'm just going to save that. And now I see it here in my list. Lovely. All right. So that is triggered emails. Again, system emails, emails triggered by actions of your registrants. Next, we're going to talk about scheduled emails, also called custom emails. These are primarily used for emails you want to send to your attendees for either a reminder that the event is coming up, or you want to provide them information that they'll need, parking instructions, driving directions, road closures. Or if you are doing a virtual or hybrid event, you want to send people the link to your event. This would be a better choice than a triggered email. I know some event coordinators like to add the link to the confirmation email. I don't recommend that for security reasons. I like to send the link like you get it for the webinars right before, because it's going to be not sitting there waiting for them. It's going to be right at their fingertips when they need it. It also adds a little bit of security, especially if you're using Zoom, that link doesn't get out far in advance and tempt someone to Zoom bomb you. Again, in our template, we provide you with an ASU branded email, the reminder email, but you will have to update the email addresses like we talked about. Okay. Now here in the I'm editing my reminder email. Something to keep in mind because it has, pro tip, it's gotten me. Subject line is the line that will be the first line of your email address. The custom email name, that is for your information. Okay, you can call it something. Don't confuse the two. If I had my choice, I'd ask Stova to switch where these two are, because it just seems to make more sense to put the subject line closer to my email address. But hey, that's me. Just be aware. Maybe you want to use the same text in the subject line in there, and that way it's foolproof. That is totally up to you. But you do want to update these email addresses as well. DMARC is still something you need to worry about for the from email address here. Again, notes is just for yourself. Okay. And it's the same email template with a few, suggestions on what you want to put in your reminder email. Customize this as you like. Okay, I'm not going to make any changes here other than that custom email name. And I should have shown you this. Now, when the custom email, I could have clicked on recipients, but I would have gotten an error message. The system does not let you go to recipients on a custom email until you've hit save and stay. It's a safety feature. They want to make sure you've customized it like you ought to before you pick recipients. Okay, same recipients listing here. Registration type tends to be public registration. Remember, public registration are your attendees. Admin registration is you and your staff. Okay. Categories, yes, we want this sent to all categories. Registration status, we'll just usually go by all statuses, but again, to remind you what these statuses are, confirmed is a registration you've received from the registrant is confirmed. If you're using the check-in features or manually checking people in, there's an attended status that may be triggered. Keep that in mind. If your email is to be sent after the event, perhaps a customer follow-up survey or information you want to send after the event, either use all registration statuses, or if you just want to send it to people who attended, that's how you filter. But I want to use all. Session selection is also available, again, whether it's registered or attended. And options. All options are fine. And again, the question response can also be used as a recipient filter. Now, after I've set all these, I can hit save and stay, and the system will tell me how many people fall into those filters. And I can use this as a way of just checking if, yeah, that's how many I expect. So whenever I send an email or program an email to you folks coming to webinars, I can say, yeah, that should be about the size of the list that are coming here to make sure I've made the correct selections. But I can't get here unless I've saved content on the Details and Content tab. Now, here we hit the scheduled part. If I want to send this as a blast, I have a third tab here for scheduling. And I can set the schedule two different ways. I can set this email to send on a specific date and time, or based on a relative date based on the event date. Okay. Specific date and time, that should be obvious. You just pick the day that you want this to be sent, pick the time it's supposed to be sent. It will be sent at the time based on whatever server or whatever time zone you selected on event info basic details. And it's just giving you a little idea of here what that clock currently says. You can also do relative dates. And here you can say 2 days before, hours, days, weeks, either before or after the event start date and time, end date and time, registration close date. Okay. Again, this is event level. You cannot use this to try to send an email based on a session date and time. Only the event date and time or registration close date. All that information on the Event Info Basic Details tab. Okay. So again, I'm going to stay to a specific date, and let's pick a real date so it's not going to go right away. Do the end of this month. And I can either manually change this, or I can click on that clock and I can click on a time and pick a different time, different minutes, AM versus PM. Once I'm ready, I can hit save and stay. One note about sending scheduled emails. If you are going to send that email, you want it to go out like right away, we'd still suggest giving yourself like 15 minutes in advance to give yourself time in case there are any last minute changes to that email before you send. The supervisor comes up and says, oh, we need to add one more thing to that email, because you want to give yourself a little time to edit. It's going to ask me before I program it. Do I really want to do this? Yes, I do. Here's my email program for this time. And at this stage, because it's not going to be sent until this date and time, I can come back in here and edit this. But once it's sent, I cannot edit it any further. I can make a copy of it, but I cannot edit it any further, and I cannot delete it because it's already been sent. During the send, it will tell you how many emails got sent, and it's dynamic. So if I get more registrants, it's smart enough to know all those people should get this email. All right? One other thing I want to show you before I go any further is how to create a new email. The easiest way for you, as I've showed you with the confirmation email, is to click the clone button of an existing ASU branded template. That's the best way. But I know not all of you use our templates, so you don't have ASU branding. Is there a way to get it, or is there a way to move things around? Or a more common question I've had asked, is there a way to clone one of the triggered emails and turn it into a custom email? Not directly. But I want to, again, deep dive. I want to show you what happens when you click some of the buttons of Stova, such as create an email. When you start with a blank, you, down here under content, this is Stova's standard system level email. It's supposed to be easier to use, but I just don't think it looks very good when you try to use it. Okay. Again, some more drag and drop features. Always use select files to add the logo here. the banner here, and then down here, this is another, I think, interface issue is, what is this field? Well, it's a text field, but you don't know that until you click in it. Okay, so it's just going to be wall-to-wall email text, no formatting here, nothing that makes it look very nice. Is there a way to take the code from a confirmation email or a email and trigger and move it here? Yes, there is. And deep dive, I'm going to show you how to do that. Let me just, it's going to ask me for all that information, and I'm not going to fill it out yet. Let's go back and get the code first. So all of our emails here are HTML code. And to get that design code, go to your email, go to your content editor, and click the source button. And then you can see all the HTML code that makes that email pretty. I'm going to click in there. I'm going to highlight it all and copy. Okay, now I can just leave this email. I'm not making any changes. I'm going to go back. Now down here, I'm going to click that, create email button again. Go down to content and change the select email template from their single column template to custom HTML template. Yes, I know what I'm doing. And now we are in the HTML editor like we had before. I'm going to click source again, paste that code, hit source, and there we have it. My code has been safely transferred from triggered emails to the scheduled emails. Okay. So you can do that from even other events. If there's a custom email you created and you didn't happen to clone that event, you can go back to that registration, copy the code, come to your new registration and paste it. So again, before I leave this, I want to save this. I've got to give it some sort of name, and I want to do this sort of quickly. I'm not a fast typer. I just happen to have a little utility that pastes some code. Which comes with really cool ideas. Thank you. All right. And just going to hit save and exit for now. Okay. So that's triggered emails. That's scheduled email blasts. Now there's another way of sending a custom email. Suppose you just have an individual or two in your registrant list that you need to send an email. You can do that, but it's through the registrant list. So I'm going to show this again in the event administrator webinar coming up, but I think it's worth mentioning here since we're talking about emails. So I'm going to go to my registrant list. I only have one test registration right now, but go into that attendee and you'll find a send email button. And here you can select which email you want to send them. So if you've got someone who complained they didn't get the confirmation email and you've confirmed that you sent it, you could send the confirmation to them again. Or if you've got that custom email designed just for a certain group of people you need to communicate with, here's how you select it. It's going to be marked as custom email and the custom email name, not the subject line, the name. Okay? So it's going to repopulate all that business. That custom email we just created. Lovely. Okay. And I get a little preview here on what that looks like. And oh, by the way, it's also previewing those merge codes. So if you want another way of looking at merge fields results without sending yourself an email, here's another way to look at it. Go to somebody in your registrant list and see. Okay. I'm not actually going to send this, but if I wanted to, I'd hit send email. You could also send the email to a group of people, which again will show on event administration day. You can select a group of people in your registrant list and then use the checked features to send an email. I guess I could show you there even with a single person. Yeah, normally it would just give me a list of who that is, and then I pick the email here. Okay. Slight tangential demo for event emails. Okay, then the last thing email related is this, emails to event administrators. The purpose of this is just to send a notification to a person when something has happened in the system, that a registration has been created or submitted, it's been modified, etc. Okay, if you have somebody who wants to receive notification every time that happens, yes, you could use blind copy, or you could use this feature. What's nice about this feature is you can send it to more than one person. Here you create email, and it's going to create a customized email for you. First, in this case, the email type is what kind of alert do you want to send? Is it for the incompletes, for new registrations, updates, admin check-ins? Okay. Again, we don't usually use the hotel or travel features. That's part of the system, though, if you want to use it. Let's just say this is going to be for new registrations, and a few things change when you make these selections. It's going to give you some customized subject lines, which you can edit. You do need to update these, just like everywhere else. Yeah. Sure. And then down here is their template with just some basic information to send to people, which again you can customize. They've created this for you. So if your administrator wants other information included, you are free to add merge codes and provide that information as well. But the idea is you're assuming that it's just a notification that something has happened. Okay. Gonna save this. And then go to the recipients tab. Now this recipient tab is a little different. Here I want to put the actual email address of the person to receive this notification. And so that's my person's email address. It only makes sense to send them all registration notifications, whether it's for modifications or updates. Okay, and I can hit save and stay. And now they've been added, but I can add another person. Maybe I want something to go to our, for whatever reason, go to our Salesforce inbox. All right. And when I'm ready, I can save and exit, go back to the bottom. And so here is what I've got programmed: a registration alert, 2 emails, two email addresses, 2 people. If I click that, I can go, it goes right back into this recipient section of that email to see who they are. Right? And I can still edit this and clone this if I want to. Okay? And if your person gets tired of getting all those emails, you can just come back here and delete the whole thing, or at least remove the one person who might no longer want to receive them. So I won't do that to Laura. I will remove that from demonstration. The last thing I want to show you here is just an optional feature for you. Is remember that one of the features you have as an administrator is to do an admin registration. Admin registration, again at the top, is you're able to click admin registration. You get into a registration site where you have the option of skipping required fields. It's the idea that you as the administrator can register someone quickly with just a few fields and then hit skip required fields and finish it quickly. That works everywhere except payment page, which we talked about last time. But one thing that does not happen when you do an admin registration is that person does not get a confirmation email triggered by the system unless you click this feature, send email notifications for admin registrations. So if you want the system to automatically send confirmation emails when you do a registration, turn this feature on. It's turned off by default again, it's and we think that's standard practice, but again, just wanted to show you one of the many features available to you through Stova. All right, checking my outline. That looks like that we have covered everything inside event emails that I wanted to cover today. So before I move on to the last section, are there any questions about event emails, either system emails, scheduled emails, or emails to event administrators? I am not on my chat window. Hang on a sec. All right, I am not seeing anything in the chat. So, and hearing no one, let us now talk about how to prepare your site for taking actual registrations. And what we recommend is that you test your site. And what do we mean by that? We mean that we suggest that you register with every category you have created so that you can see the flow of the registration for that category. Is it the way you want it to flow? Do you get to the end? Do you get to the confirmation email? Do you get notifications like you expect to see for each of your categories? So to test, you go to the actual event URL that you've designed. And in this example, I'm allowing general admission and exhibitors to choose this. I have other categories. So since they're not visible for the sponsors category, for the staff category, I would want to go into the category tab of my event, and I would pull up, click on the direct link, and go through their registration process. They're not notified that they are in that category. I have to remember that. But for this test, I am just going to go through general admission and add my email address. I'm not going to use a discount code. Okay, the system I have pre-populate turned on this registration, so I have registered with this email address before. The system remembers it, and it's pre-populated many of these fields. Some I'm going to have to enter manually. Oops, there we go. Okay. Here are my sessions. Let's just check a few. Not the pub call. And that's going to affect my running total. Next question, and we go for the lunch. Next questions are my options. T-shirts, sure. Let's get a guide. You'll notice down here it's the running total. So as I make selections that affect the price, it's going to automatically change for me. Lovely. Now this is the additional attendee question. So if I wanted to add more people to my registration, I would click yes and go through that whole same process for them as a general attendee. And yes, I would test that. For today, I'm not going to. I'm just going to hit no and carry on. Okay, since that means I am done, it takes me to the registration record page to show what information that I'm providing, what selections I made, how much is this going to cost me. So this is the payment page. Again, a note, again, we're doing testing. When you have an event with fees and you've enabled quick pay, you cannot go any farther than this with quick pay. If I click this and click make a payment, you will go to the actual quick pay site and you need a credit card to finish, and I don't want to do that. I just want to finish a registration site, which is why I created a second payment method for invoice, which is not going to be a roadblock to me finishing the registration. So I'm going to click that. And yes, I know there are test credit cards here. These appear while we're in test. They do not work in QuickPay. Selecting invoice, hitting make payment. There we go. And I'm done. And shortly I'll hear the ping of a confirmation email. with any luck. So that would be a successful test of my general admission. I can go to my site, go to the registrant list, and there I am on this line. So that is a successful test. Again, that went smoothly. It was the flow I wanted. I would go back and test general admission with adding some additional attendees, see what that looks like. Also, by going through this process for every category, you know what your guest is experiencing, right? And that could be good for tech support or to try to field questions if they are having any issues. Okay, but that's a successful test. I'm going to pretend that I've tested all of my categories through. They all work just as expected. So now I'm ready to make my site live. First thing we suggest is clearing out these test registrations. When you're in pre-event, anytime you make a test registrations, they'll be marked as test. Okay? They will also count against any category or event level maximum numbers you've put. Okay? And so you must want to get rid of those before you go live. First thing you want to do is go to registrations and reports and functions. And there's a feature for clearing out test registrations. So that will delete anything that says test. It's even going to give you a number of how many registrations were just deleted. This is the only way to delete a registration is if it's in test. Okay. Next, remember I said I created a secondary payment method. Now I have to decide, do I want to hide this from my attendees but leave it on my site? Maybe I want to use this. Maybe I know there are going to be clients who want to pay me money, say a sponsor, but they need to see the invoice first. Okay, to do that, I need to register them but have this feature available so I can generate the invoice. So if I just want to keep it for me and not allow my attendees to see it, I would just turn public off and hit save and stay. Okay. If I don't need it any longer at all and I don't need it for myself, I can just hit the delete button and it's gone. Okay. So cleared out test registrations, settled, and again, because I'm a paid event, settled my payment methods now are only quick pay. Great. Last but not least, to go to event info, basic details. And now we will change the event status from pre-event to live. And this is the most important step of all. Save and stay. If I leave this page without hitting save and stay, it's going to stay in pre-event. Another pro tip, we make the mistake so you don't have to. Okay? Now, if you do make the mistake of leaving it in pre-event and accepting registrations, yes, there now is a way to convert test registrations into confirm registrations. And we'll show you that at the event administration webinar, not today, because I just cleared out all my tests. So, and with that, that concludes our demonstration today, our webinar on Event Builder Part 4. And let me open it up now to questions. Do you have any questions about things we've covered today, the event emails, or testing and going live? If not, do you have any questions about other things we've covered in the Event Builder series? And if not, is there anything Stova related that you have a question about? I'm going to open it up. You can either put it in the chat or you can unmute your microphone and just shout it out. I'll also open this up to any of my co-conspirators who are watching my back, moderating today, if they noticed if I skipped anything I should mention to you about things we've covered today.
I think it all looked good, Steve.
We trimmed a few things from this outline, so it's able to spend a lot more time than normal in the past, but okay. Well, if you think of questions after you leave here today, you can come to the Slack channel and post it there and let other Stova users around ASU help answer your questions. Chances are we've all faced the same problems and happy to share our wisdom with you. You could also check out our support site, stova.asu.edu, where we have a lot of how-to articles and some videos there. You can send your question to us at stova@asu.edu. If it's a more complicated question, maybe you need some help setting up a certain scenario or use case registration, we can set up a time to get with you, office hours or consultations on those features. So again, shameless plug is that this is the last of the masterclass series on registration setup, but there will be a masterclass on some of the extra features of registration site, the virtual tab, the check-in features of registration, and how to use the badging system, whether you're going to pre-print badges or print on site at the check-in tables. That is the event manager webinar. An event administration webinar is about reports, all the different reporting functions that you get in the registration sites. We're going to talk about how to manage attendees with the registrant list. We'll repeat some of that stuff about sending emails. Also, we have coming up the Stova Essentials class. If you have team members who have just gotten on board and you want to get them up to speed quickly, or you've got team members who just want a quick refresher, that's coming up next week. And as I mentioned earlier, I think I mentioned earlier, we have webinars on the marketing module coming up. Also, the website builder, another core module of the Stova event management platform. So seeing no chat questions and hearing no one or seeing anyone raising their hand, I'll be able to give you some more time back to your day. So hope to see you at another webinar. And if you have any questions, reach out. So have a good rest of your day.